Zoomers. Connecting through Zoom is the way to go. So let's dive right in. It's Boomer Zoomers.
All right, folks, it's the third Thursday of the month, which means one of our favorite segments. It's time to go back down to the Charlestown Senior Center and our beloved Boomer Zoomers and their host with their weekly current events meeting, Bill Isabella. Bill, who is with you today?
My immediate left is the innumerable and the wonderful and the war hero, Jeff Combs. And to the left of it, yes, you. And to the left is, well, we all know Ken McCord. We call him Mr. Corny Joke. So.
All right. All right. Now, Jeff, what is that cap you have on for us today?
The troops call this the Boonie cap, and you're wearing hot weather climates. And it was issued to me when I was in Iraq. And it's 17 years ago this month that I came back from Iraq after a year deployment there.
Wow. Well, thank you for your service. We know you're a constitutional expert. I didn't know you were deployed in Iraq. Wow, that's an interesting story. Now, Ken, you're not donning your cap, but I know you got one there. What do you got today?
Yellowstone Dutton Ranch.
Ah, Yellowstone Dutton Ranch. Oh, yeah. Can't wait to see the new episodes of that. That's a great series.
The Bunny Ranch, but that's besides the point. We won't go there.
All right. All right, Bill, I know you guys at your weekly current events meeting down there at the Charlestown Senior Center have been talking what the whole world's been talking about, the Hamas-Israeli conflict. Tell us a little bit about what your group has been thinking about all that.
Well, last week we spent the entire hour talking about the conflict and what was happening. And quite frankly, many of us, including myself, were somewhat distraught over the fact that this even happened and the potential implications. And over the past week, we've seen some of those things come true. We see now that Israel is involved in two fronts, or soon to be involved in two fronts, and there's a lot of issues there that we were very hard to swallow. The brutality of the invasion, what had happened there, we just found it hard to not talk about that. And we're going to be talking about it again today. But what's happened since then, we did speak about this a little bit last week, was the fact that so many people here and around the world, not just in the United States, are against the Israelis and pro-Palestine. And the attitude of people is just, I just don't understand what the heck is going on.
David is so funny.
You know, I talked about that in my opening commentary today, and I'll share a little bit with you at the end if we have a little time. But I want to go to Jeff. Jeff, so you've been in Iraq. You fought wars in desert conditions, similar, I would imagine, to what Israel and Hamas are looking at in Gaza. You know, the much anticipated ground war, if it happens, has been delayed beyond most people's expectations. How tough is it? How difficult is it to get an army ready for a desert condition kind of attack, and door to door street for urban fighting as well?
Yeah, well, extremely difficult, as you can imagine. But the Israelis are, they're a world-class military force to deal with, and I think that they'll do fine. They've done fine. They've demonstrated that in the past two wars that they've had back in '67, I think '73, and I think they're going to do all right. And also, what we used to call mount training, urban warfare. They probably practice that too. They're pretty sharp, so I think they'll do fine.
All right, Ken. As Bill kind of mentioned, it's amazing how many people don't want Israel to retaliate. They had their version of 9/11. America retaliated. We spent probably way too long in Afghanistan before that disastrous pullout. Does Israel deserve the space to have unfettered retaliation, however they see fit, regardless of world opinion?
In my personal opinion, I feel that Israel needs to adopt a scorched earth policy. In all fairness to our group, though, not that many people agreed with me on that, but that's my own personal feeling, like Sherman marching to the sea during our Civil War.
Bill, to that point, and as we mentioned often, you don't have monolithic thinking there among your group. You have
No,
people
no.
across the political spectrum with their thinking. Of course, a lot of hardcore pro-Israel, if you want to call them hawks, you can, but they believe that the Israeli army and the Israeli defense forces should go in and totally wipe out Hamas, not necessarily all the Palestinian people, will wipe out Hamas such that no longer exists. How many in your group felt that way, and how do you feel about it?
Several did feel that way. Most did not. Most felt that there should be a settled peace there somehow. And that's hard to do when you have such hatred amongst people. Don't forget, Golda Meir said many, many decades ago, she said, the Palestinians and the Israelis, we will never find peace until the Palestinians love their children more than they hate us. And that's part of the problem there. When we see Palestine teaching their children mathematics by saying there are 5 Jews, you kill 4 of them, how many Jews are left? I mean, when you ingrain it and indoctrinate, and that's just what it is, you indoctrinate generations of people, they know nothing but hate. And that speaks to the fact that there was such brutality invasion on the part of the Hamas group when they invaded Israel. Now we've got people in this country who don't quite get it. They don't understand it. They're actually saying that this never happened. We've got Congress people that are flying the Palestinian flag outside the office. And Rashida Tlaib, I'm not sure if you've seen this, but she was crying about.
Yeah, I saw it.
I mean, and now we know, and now we have actual fact that the bomb or the explosion did not occur with an Israeli weapon. So
At that hospital, right?
Yeah, and this has to stop. And the indoctrination
Right.
of our children, the chickens have come home to roost.
All right, Jeff, let me ask you this. I want to not get away from the topic, but as we're sort of hinting here, a lot of people, probably a lot of Israelis, want their defense forces to basically be pretty ruthless. Like, hey, enough of this bad stuff has been perpetrated on us. There's a saying that, you know, when evil people do evil things upon good people, sometimes good people have to do bad things to bad people. As a soldier, and you don't have to tell us what your involvement was or not when you were in Iraq, but as a soldier, whether you want to label it indiscriminate killing, mass killing, that's gonna have an emotional burden, knowing that what you do, whether on purpose or accidentally, might be killing innocent civilians.
Well, you're talking probably by your question in terms of collateral damage.
Right.
That occurs in every war, as history has shown. What you do, and I was there as an inspector general, so I was very conscious of the fact that our troops had to abide by the laws of land warfare and all of the treaties we've signed. You don't indiscriminately execute civilians or children or people who are called non-combatants. And you don't just attack churches, hospitals, schoolyards, etc., unless the enemy is using those to perform a violent objection against you.
As a shield. As a shield. We know Hamas uses civilians as shields.
Right.
But in terms of the scorched earth policy that Ken alluded to, militarily, we would call that or tone it down to destruction of the enemy and their ability to carry offensive forces against our nation. So you don't necessarily have to kill everybody. If you can take over their command and control and destroy that so it's ineffective. I kind of look at it like the way that we handled the mafia in Rhode Island years ago. We made them ineffective. We didn't take them down. We didn't completely eliminate them. They still have some function, but you got to keep it to the point where they can't carry offensive operations. We did that with ISIS, I believe, and Al Qaeda.
Okay.
Okay.
But they're effectively inoperative right now.
But it's the biblical eye for an eye, tooth for tooth thing it's got to have to end somewhere. And the war is going to be fought on the ground, there's no question. And it's just being fought right now. There's going to be plenty of lives lost. But the real war is a war of the mind. And I think the media, as the media continues to purport an image of the Israelis and an image of Hamas, that's where the war lies. I think Israel will be wise to pay attention to that too. And I believe that they are. I don't believe that this is going to be over in weeks or months. This is going to be a protracted incursion. I just hope it doesn't blow.
Let's go to Ken next. The second topic you wanted to talk about related to this was a segment from the Greg Gutfeld show. I'm not going to play it, but I'll let it run in the background. I might stop on a particular frame when they put up some of the graphic. But this was talking about some of the student-led protests on campus. Ken, what did your group discuss about this, and what are your views?
Well, I have a closing comment on the last topic where not only are they having to fight a real war with bullets, but there's a second propaganda war that's going on, and that there used to be a saying, don't believe everything you see and only half of what you read. That's the second level war. Now, in terms of these individual protests that we're seeing all over the country, I'm just concerned with the country. I know it's been all over the world, but I personally feel that the FBI has to get off of their backside and start investigating these different cells that are terrorist organizations, much as they did with the Confucius Institutes in all the different colleges.
How do you explain this wave of supposed anti-Semitism via these protests and student letters? Bill, your group, did you talk about that?
Yeah.
To Ken's point, what the heck do you think is going on here?
I think the indoctrination that the university has gone through for the last 30, 40 years or more is coming to, as I said earlier, the chickens have come home to roost. And I think that's exactly what this is. If you listen to some of the professors from the esteemed universities, Columbia, Harvard, etc., they're spewing this hatred like there is no tomorrow, and the students are just wrapping themselves in a Palestinian flag and showing their hatred towards a particular group. Look, there is wrong on both sides of this equation. We need to stop there. The people of Gaza are suffering just like the people in Israel suffering. There's human suffering all over the place. That should be the goal, to stop the human suffering, not to wipe out one with scorched earth, in my opinion.
All right, I want to go to Jeff. Jeff, in my opening comments today, I posed this theory. I believe it. I'm not sure I'm right. Just like we all despise the way that racism and racists gets thrown around in situations that don't really apply. I likewise think, and I think it's many of us on the right who are doing this, they're throwing around the term anti-Semitism in places that doesn't necessarily apply. Certainly, just like racism, anti-Semitism exists in many parts of the world in our own society, but not just because you oppose the Jewish government's war, or you oppose parts of the Jewish religion, or you might have ultra concern for Palestinian people, doesn't make you an anti-Semite necessarily. I mean, a lot of that overlaps, as I explained, and I'll make one more point and get your comment. I think what's going on here, the Palestinian people have been positioned, in my view, as another one of these victim groups, right? That we all need to bend the knee to. So I think it's just this sick-minded obsession with identity politics and supporting victim groups, just like a lot of people hate America who aren't really communists either, but they get all wrapped up in supporting this theory or this victim group that they'll go to any extent, even condoning force against innocent people to support their political view. I think it's politicization and not necessarily anti-Semitism. What do you think?
I agree with you. I mean, you can disagree with the Israeli opinion and how the problem should be handled, but you should be able to justify that too with some sense of reason. Just declaring that you're on the side of the so-called Palestinians whom call for the destruction of Israel in their constitution. I mean, how offensive is that? How, they're not
Right.
obliging.
Those are anti-Semites.
Yeah. So I think you can.
But I think a lot of these protesters we're seeing are just ignorant, sick people who
Yeah.
have caught this. Hey, I just want to support the Palestinian people. It sounds good. It sounds noble. Yeah, I want to protect children. Therefore, I'll condone anything. Ken, final word goes to you.
All right, I think this situation that we're seeing is very much like the formation of the gangs that I used to
Yes.
see on Manhattan, that I personally attributed to the fact that they have no real home life, i.e. the absence of a father, not to mention any kind of religious belief, so that they're searching for a family that they don't have at home to be able to join a group and feel that they are part of something. Even if it goes against everybody's opinion, it's like with the gang people that the
Yeah.
young
What a
kids-
great point. What a great point. Even if it goes against their own philosophy or moral standards, just to be part of the gang, just to be part. That's exactly what I'm saying. They're caught up in this negative contagion, this emotional virus. It's a sickness. It really is. And it's sad to think that so many of these people are in our political offices and our schools, our educational system, and our companies and our media and academia and all that. These are sick people who are insecure, are just looking for some, like you said, I call it tribalization. I think your analogy of a gang is right on. Ken, that might be your best comment in all the years we've been doing this, Ken.
You didn't like any of my jokes, though?
No, I didn't like your jokes, but I love that comment you made.
Is that the very definition of ideologue, though, which you two were just talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Ideological fanaticism, not
Well, that's-
necessarily anti-Semitism. I agree. Yeah.
Let me close by saying I couldn't disagree with Ken more. I completely disagree with that. That is not a good analogy at all. I think that you have a religion, and that is a Muslim religion. You have families that are sacrificing the young children. These are not motherless and fatherless families. These are not people that have no faith. They have a deep faith in their Muslim faith. Unfortunately, their faith has been prostituted by some people to send them there. So this is not analogous to a young
And this
man.
is And this is why we love your group so much, because you engage in honest debate whether you agree or disagree with your fellow boomer zoomers or with me. This is what a good debate is all about, presenting
Correct.
different views, doing it in a civil and respectful way. And that's why we love having you guys and ladies on so often. So Bill Isabella, Jeff Koons, Ken McCourt, once again, thank you for engaging in civil debate here as Boomer Zoomers on my In the Dugout show. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Mike, for
Thank
having
you.
us.
You're welcome.
All right, and next time, let's get some prettier faces as part of the crew, okay? Let's be sure to do that, all right?
It's a pretty face, come on.
You heard me. Let's get some prettier faces. All right, and we know we got some pretty faces out in the audience watching us. We thank you for tuning in here to In the Dugout here on the Ocean State College. So for In the Dugout, Mike sent us out. See you next game.
See ya.